How about that? Your job, you're the
You know I can't read.
you're like the bingo caller where you call out
There's no
the bingo
making fun
letters.
of however I say the words. Do we
Well,
all
we'll
understand the terms?
We'll see.
All right.
Now, let's get organized.
Where are we
Let's
going?
start with muscles that act on the pectoral girdle. Then we'll go to muscles that move the humerus. Then we'll go to muscles that move the forearm. Then we'll go to
We're just
muscles
going one at a
that
time. We're not skipping around.
No!
All right.
One at a time. So we'll start at the bottom of that first page where it says muscles that act on the pectoral girdle.
Okay.
What bones make up the pectoral girdle? There's two. I'm asking you. Which?
What'd you say, Ling Ling?
Okay, so it's the ones that connect the humerus to the sternum. So it's the clavicle and the scapula. Okay, so the first muscle on that list?
The serratus
Serratus
anterior.
anterior is the one we just
These
talked
ones?
about. Exactly, it's number 14 on this model. It's right
It's
here.
also on this side.
It's these slips of muscle that look like a serrated knife or fingers reaching around. It's on both sides. All of these except the vicularis oris are definitely bilateral, meaning there's a right and a left. Go.
The posterior trapezius.
Oh, posterior just means the side of the body it's on. The muscle is called trapezius. It's this one.
Okay,
It's
yeah, I
shaped like
know
a
that.
sail. It's very superficial, shrugs the shoulders. It's trapezius. It's
All
number
right.
41 on this model. Go.
Levator scapula.
Levator scapulae is here on this model. It tugs up on the scapula, okay?
Okay.
And it levitates the scapula. That's what the muscle does. It elevates the scapula. Next.
Oh, thank you. The it says axle pectoralis.
Yes, yes. So pectoralis major is a recognizable muscle. It's a chest muscle that Arnold Schwarzenegger's
So I'm gonna go here.
bingo, perfect. It's highlighted, so let's talk about its origin and insertion.
Okay.
Its origins are the parts of this that stay still. Its origins are the parts that are attached to the axial skeleton and the girdle. Its insertion is the part that moves. Its insertion is on the humerus. So this is a muscle that moves the arm. And its origins are all these costal cartilages down here. See this muscle shaped like it fans out on all like this?
Mhm.
This sternum, clavicle, medial clavicle. And all these fibers blend together, dives deep and in and under here, and it dives. And do you remember there's a groove between two tubercles called an intertubercular groove of the
Mhm.
humerus? It crosses that groove and it grabs onto the lateral side of that groove, the lateral lip of that groove. And because it's set up like that, when it contracts, it can flex the humerus, it can adduct and pull it in, and it can also medially rotate it and twist it. But especially, it can flex the shoulder. It can flex the
Mhm.
humerus. And that's what you do when you bench press. You are flexing the humerus.
Mhm.
This is the powerful shoulder flexor. Pectoralis major. Okay, next.
Okay. The latissimus.
Yes,
Dorsi.
Perfect. I said dorsi. Latissimus, you pronounced it exactly right. It's this one. This one's origin is all these spinous processes of the low thoracic and all the lumbar vertebral spinous processes and the iliac crest, and all these fibers swing up laterally and anteriorly underneath the arm. It sneaks under the arm
Mhm.
and it curls around, and its tendon inserts in the floor of the intertubercular groove. It gets in the groove.
Mhm.
Latissimus dorsi, it's in the groove.
Yeah.
Okay?
Does.
It's a huge muscle. It is the thing that makes bodybuilders look like they've got wings. And because of what it does, if your arm is up here, it sneaks around like this. When it contracts, it can pull down on the humerus.
So it's not connect. It doesn't come around to connect to the pectoris.
No.
Okay.
To the
Because it kind of looks
humerus.
the same, but.
Sure. It sneaks around, and some of the pictures in the book will help you see it a little better, but it sneaks around, and it inserts on the left, on the floor of the intertubercular groove of the humerus, And so it can also tug the humerus in, that's adduction. It can also medial rotate it, but especially this is the powerful extender of the humerus. This is flexion, this is extension. This is flexion, this is extension. This is pec major, this is lat.
Okay.
Very powerful major huge muscle. Question on the test? Next.
Okay. Deltoid?
Love deltoid. Where is it? Where's the deltoid?
On the
Alright.
side.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on this side of the lateral part of the arm or the shoulder.
It's on the side of the arm? I would have thought it was
So it's this one here. It's the one that looks like the shoulder pad.
It's just like
Oh, okay.
those machines at the gym that you work out with that
Yeah.
works for.
So this origin is it highlighted? Yes. Origin, spine of the scapula, acromion, clavicle, spine of the scapula, acromion, clavicle. These fibers coming down to a single common insertion.
Mhm.
When that thing contracts, it yanks up on the
So
humerus.
where exactly
and
is it?
pulls the arm up like that.
It's
It's this.
the whole thing.
The whole
So
thing when it comes
if,
down.
let's just say, you had a sticky note right here, that's what that is. But if you had a
Definitely.
sticky note up here, it's
On that white
something
thing, it
else.
would be something else. Correct.
Okay.
So, the insertion is a part of the humerus we learned. It's called, do you remember what it's called?
Do you? I don't.
It's called the deltoid tuberosity. That's one of the things on the humerus list. And that's what the deltoid tuberosity is. It's the insertion point of the deltoid muscle. And when that thing yanks on deltoid tuberosity, it raises the arm like that. It's called abduction of the arm.
Okay.
It's basically, he's basically activated deltoid on this side. He's raised the arm up. And he could use pec major and latissimus dorsi to return it, and grab it. Okay,
Yeah.
next.
Okay.
Hold the rotator cuff for now and flip it and skip. Oh, coracobrachialis, we need to talk about
Oh,
that.
it wasn't highlighted, so I didn't.
Coracobrachialis goes from the coracoid process of the scapula down to the humerus. It's 18 right here.
Yeah.
This is a medial muscle that flexes the shoulder. Flexes the shoulder. Show me on your arm what shoulder flexion is. Start in anatomic position and go like this. That's shoulder flexion. Now bend your elbows. That's elbow flexion. Now bend your wrists. It's wrist flexion and make a fist. It's digit flexion or finger flexion. So flexion is everything bends, and the opposite of that is extension. So what is the powerful extender of the elbow on the back side of the brachial region?
The
Looks like an upside down horseshoe on the ripped bodybuilders. It's kind of like a tricycle, except instead of wheels, it's got 3 heads. It's called triceps.
how? Why didn't I know that?
Triceps brachii, because I haven't asked you before. Triceps
It
brachii.
sounds like something anybody should know that
It
one.
straightens
well.
the elbow.
Did you say that? Yeah. Look at
Okay, triceps
legally.
brachii is in there. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, I skipped ahead a little bit. We skipped
oh,
the
no,
rotator
see,
cuff.
'cause
We
we're
did
staying
that.
here.
Flip. We'll skip it.
Okay.
That's part of it. And Terry's,
biceps
we'll come back to
brachii.
Terry's major. Okay, biceps brachii. Where is it?
It's in your biceps.
Right here.
It is your biceps. So where is it?
Mhm.
One finger. Yes.
Stop with the one finger.
No, because-
I like to show you the regions.
No, it's cheating. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's this one. It's exactly what you pointed
Okay.
to. It's this on this side. It's biceps brachii.
Okay.
What movement does it produce? Biceps curls.
Yeah. I guess that's the only thing it can't do.
It flexes
right?
the elbow. It flexes the shoulder a little too.
Waffle, I know
It does a couple
about
different things,
water.
but it's the powerful elbow flexor.
Definitely most of the
It's the
names
thing
are
that lets
from
me
overseas.
take your backpack and pick it up.
Okay.
Bend my
That gets heavy, you know.
Yeah, well, not to me. I mean, you saw.
Okay,
Biceps.
let's move on. Brachior radial.
Okay.
Stop.
Brachio,
Brachio
radialis.
radialis.
Brachial region, radial bone. Humerus to radius. It's this guy.
Yeah.
It's this. Show me your arm. It's this guy. It
Okay, so that kind of does tell you where it's at in a way, like if you look at the words.
totally, and it
Radius,
bends the
it's
elbow,
in your
flexes the
radius
elbow.
of
This
your
is not the
arm.
powerful elbow flexor. It's like, but it does that.
So is it on this guy?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay. Alright, so on this side, he's right here.
It's not right here. It's right here.
Yeah, that's exactly where I put it too, so. It looks familiar.
Yeah.
Triceps brachii.
Show me.
So if it's your tricep, using your arm.
One finger.
You
Correct.
Stop.
I won't.
I can't.
Because right now you're doing really good and you're benefiting from this.
I know, but I get nervous and I don't want you to tell me I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
So if
yeah,
I
yeah.
just do this,
But
there's
you're
like
gonna be
5
wrong.
zones right
You're gonna be
there.
wrong. Earlier I told Erica something wrong. I told her that one of the quad muscles originates on the anterior superior iliac spine. It's the anterior inferior iliac spine.
Oh.
And boy, did I have egg on my face.
Oh, wow.
She let me know about it.
Yeah, she
She was
would.
right. I was wrong. Now I know. I know.
It's my favorite when I'm right and you're wrong. It's only happened one time and I won't live it down.
Well, that's okay. Okay, next is?
Okay, rotators, there's supinator.
Okay.
Supinator.
Let's skip these. We're getting into detail
Okay.
for our muscles.
You wanna go
Let's
to
skip 'em.
facial expression?
No, we did that. Let's go to, do you guys want to talk about the leg and stuff?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I'm benefiting from this.
Let's do some of the major and larger and more proximal muscles, kind of like we did, and then we'll fill in the blanks with the detailed ones, like with the other video, and then Thursday. So let's start with this, muscles that work on the hip
Hip
joint
joint.
and on the thigh.
Okay,
Mm.
would you like to read them?
Let's do the leg.
Where are we going?
I'm bringing a leg.
I'm been texting.
Oh, what are you saying? What did he want?
That's
Don't
gluteus
break a
maximus.
leg.
That's your butt.
You know what they say, break a leg. Alright,
Good one.
enough of the fun jokes around here. Let's get serious.
Right. Enough of your jokes. Let me only do mine only.
Mine are funnier.
All right, good. First is
Okay,
iliopsoas.
okay, so the anterior muscles, iliosois
Psoas. Yeah.
group.
So the
okay.
P is silent. And psoas.
Iliosois.
Have you ever eaten filet mignon?
Probably not.
Yeah, you have.
Not just steak.
Yes,
No.
fancy steak.
You've
It's the
had-
expensive tender steaks. Filet mignon.
Oh yeah,
Beef tenderloin.
eat that every
It's
weekend.
psoas muscle in a steer.
Okay,
This is the filet mignon. Let me see. It's right here.
alright.
Iliacus is inside the iliac bone. It's number 2 on this
Yep,
diagram, and
that's
it's
the
here.
next one.
It's here. Psoas, iliacus.
Okay, so this word is two things.
Yeah, so
basically.
iliosoas
Okay.
group is those two things. If you can think of them as one, that's what they're called. If you think of them as individuals, they're called psoas and iliacus.
Okay,
Next. Oh, me. Oh, me.
tensor fasciae
Okay.
latae.
Yeah. So TFL, what I always say, tensor fascia lata is what
Yeah,
it's
but you're not
called.
gonna let me write TFL.
Absolutely not.
See?
So what it's going to be is called tensor fascia lata. That's how I say it.
I like to give it more of a sway.
Fine.
Fasciae.
But this is recognizable on the model because
Okay.
even though it's a short bit of muscle, it blends into a tendon that travels along the lateral leg down and onto the tibia. This thing is called the iliotibial band. If you've heard of IT band syndrome, this tendon of this muscle is called iliotibial band. Tensor fascia lata is able to really stabilize and tense the knee
So it's on
joint.
the outside,
It's this right here.
so it's
And this is the
lateral.
pinky side, it's lateral. And when you stand on one leg, it stabilizes the knee joint and it helps tense things. It really helps athletes who like, stop quick and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And that's tensor fascia lata. It's right here. It's number 9. Next.
Okay. Gluteus maximus, that's your butt.
So you see how it's really got it's a really like obvious landmark. This long tendon that's wide and flat and goes around along the outside of the thigh.
Yeah.
I kind of want you to know what you're looking for. That's the tendon of tensor fascia lata. Okay.
So now it was going to gluteus maximus, gluteus
Yeah.
medius.
Gluteus maximus falls off of these pretty easily.
Is that not your butt?
It's the buttock. and it's the most superficial and large muscle of the buttock region, and it's here. It's number 3 on the model. And if you take it away, you'll see some muscles deep to it, like gluteus medius. And even deep to that, there's a gluteus minimus. That's not on our list, but here's
Medius.
gluteus medius, deep to it.
Okay,
Medium,
so it's
it's
deep,
like large,
it's
medium,
under.
small. Maximum, medium,
So
minimum.
maximum is basically over median. Median.
Yeah, it's superficial to it. You
Okay.
take it off, you see medius.
Deep lateral rotators.
There are like 7 or these or something. I can't remember how many. 6 or 7 of these. They're all of these through here. They're individually named.
Oh gosh. Do we have to
Obturator,
know every
turners,
single name of them?
No, that's why
Okay.
they're not on there, but they're called deep lateral rotators because they're deep in the body, and they perform this action known as lateral rotation.
Okay.
So say this is an anatomic position, patient's facing you. Lateral rotation of the leg is like this, or
Mhm.
like this. So that's what those muscles do. They laterally rotate the thigh.
Okay, so we only need to know that those are called the deep
That they
lateral
exist and they do
rotators.
what the name says, and they're deep to gluteus maximus.
Okay.
They're deep, they're lateral rotators, they laterally rotate.
Gracilis?
Gracilis, love gracilis. Gracilis is a medial thigh muscle. This is anatomic position, correct?
Yeah.
Where's the medial thigh?
The inside.
Yeah, the inside. Big toe, medial side.
So in here.
Gracilis reminds me of the graceful ballerina. It's front and center. What is the muscle of the medial thigh that's front and center? Exactly right, it's 15. That's gracilis.
Okay,
When the muscle is
Gracilis.
swung out to the side like this, like in a jumping
that's
jack,
your,
in order to bring it back, gracilis contracts. And adducts, it adducts. That's what that movement is. Okay, next.
adductor
Hold on
longus?
one second. Adductor longus is immediately anterior to gracilis. It's right there. Adductor longus adducts the thigh. It does the same thing that gracilis does, and it's immediately anterior to it. Solid gracilis is a landmark or a headquarters of the medial thigh. It's front and center.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy to spot. You go just anterior to it, or on this one, it's called adductor longus.
Okay.
Those two things do the same action. Adduct the thigh.
Just trying to figure out how to say the word. Sartorius?
Ah.
Sartorius?
You already know
Yes.
it's my favorite.
Why?
Each
Everything's your
anterior thigh,
favorite.
this is this muscle. It takes this crossing type of trajectory. The muscle that crosses from lateral to medial across the front of the thigh, sartorius. It's the only muscle that does that, it's sartorius. Enough said about it. It
Did you say
crosses the
this
leg.
one?
Thin,
Okay, this one.
thin strap like a belt
Sartorius.
or a ribbon.
That's the one Isaac had problem with because of his head.
I don't know. Okay, we'll finish up the thigh and we'll call it a night.
Quadriceps femoris group.
Okay,
The rectus
Yeah.
femoris?
so quadriceps, the quadriceps femoris group is talking about a group of muscles with 4 heads in the femoral region. Quadriceps femoris is this group. It's anterior thigh. Hot dog.
All
like
right.
that. Quadriceps. Quadriceps. Okay,
Quadriceps.
and there's 4 muscles here. There's a muscle that looks like a feather that's perfectly front and
The middle
center.
one.
Point. It's rectus femoris, exactly. Looks just like a feather.
Yeah.
Perfectly midline. Center. Rectus femoris. That's 1. There's 4. The other 3, 2, 3, and 4, are called vastus. Vastus, vastus, vastus.
Okay, so they're all.
And the second part of vastus's name tells you where it lies compared to
Yeah.
rectus femoris. So vastus lateralis, which one is it? Point.
It would be on this side.
Correct, it's lateral. This is vastus lateralis. And vastus medialis is medial.
On that side. Going
This
inside.
one. So that's vastus medialis.
And then the
Medi. This is vastus
Lateral.
lateralis. Vastus intermedius is deep to biceps femoris. It's deep to perfectly underneath it. Take this thing off, you're staring at vastus intermedius. Those 4 muscles all straighten the knee. It's called extension of the knee. And they all blend together and share a common tendon that inserts onto the tibial tuberosity. The tendon is called the patellar tendon or the quadriceps tendon, and it crosses the knee joint in front, and it attaches to the tibial tuberosity of the tibia, so that when the knee is bent, these muscles all shorten and contract and powerfully yank on the tibia, and it straightens the knee. Quadriceps. Posterior thigh muscles, these are the hamstrings, the hammies.
Yep. Biceps femoris
Just like biceps brachii flexes the elbow, biceps femoris
is in the back.
18 flexes the knee,
Yeah.
and it bends the knee, okay? And along with it, it's two cousins, semi.
Simit
Semi-tendon,
and semi.
yeah. Semi-tendinosus,
Mm-hmm.
semi-membranosus, okay? So
Which is which?
biceps femoris is the most lateral. The one in the middle is called tendinosus. It's like the little middle child that's always in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
Tendinosis, he's all in the middle of everything.
Yeah, yes.
And then membranosus, M-E-M, is most medial. And so these three is the most medial. Semi-membranosus is here. So it's biceps femoris,
Mm-hmm.
moving medially, semi-tendinosus, and finally semi-membranosus, most medial.
Okay.
And then if you keep going, we run into gracilis, on the totally medial side of the thigh. And if we keep going, we're adductor longus, sartorius, vastus medialis, rectus femoris, right? So it's like,
I wish I could remember all that. at
you
one
will.
time.
Holy frick, it's the first time we've ever talked about it. Get serious, this is not even the lecture yet.
I know.
This is free. This is great. It's an appetizer.
Yeah, it is.
And so really what you need to know about these things is that they originate on the ischial tuberosity, which is the butt bone, and they come down and they cross the knee joint. They have to cross the knee joint. They don't, if they just attach to the femur,
Uh-huh.
they're not moving the knee. They have to go across the knee joint and attach, and they attach to the tibia and the fibula. And so when they yank on the tibia and
This is
fibula
the
from
picture
behind,
you drew on the board, right, earlier?
yes,
That's what.
when they yank on that baby, it bends the knee.
Yeah. Okay, so do we need, tibialis anterior, did we already do that one? And the gastrocnemius
Yeah, so these are the,
solus.
so these are gonna be the muscles that move the ankle joint. They move it either in the way that helps you point your toe and push down the gas pedal,
Mm-hmm.
or point your toe up towards the sky. Those two actions are opposite. They refer to the ankle joint specifically. And see if we can do this without a
Doesn't
flying
it come
part.
from back here?
So if I told you that the tibia runs along the medial side of your lower leg,
Mm-hmm.
where would you say tibialis anterior is? If you had to pick up one of these and just take a whirl. That's it.
See, if you
19.
just tested me like this, I'd have an A right now.
Some people are asking if we should give oral examinations to students.
I'm good at oral examination.
People would balk at it, students wouldn't like it, teachers would not like it, no one would like it. But if
I
you're
know.
asking the best way to assess knowledge, it's
I
not
guess
even a
that's all.
question.
Yeah.
It's not even a question.
If you
The
were
best
like,
way.
where is this? But you said it.
So this one that you pointed to, I know it's hard to see in this video, but it's number 19 on the models. It's on the anterior tibia, and it's the only muscle on the anterior tibia on our test. And when this buddy comes down and pulls on the medial cuneiform in the first metatarsal, it's going to yank up on the foot and point your toes towards your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's called dorsiflexion. If you were going to look for muscles that did the opposite, do you think it makes sense to just flip the thing over and look behind? If you're looking for something that does the opposite of that, shouldn't I just go like this?
Yeah.
Now we're seeing muscle that do its opposite. These are the calf muscles, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Calf muscles, it's not an anatomic term. There are three muscles that do the opposite of what I just said. The opposite of what I just said is called plantar flexion. It's pointing the toe.
Mm-hmm.
And the most superficial and largest and juiciest is the gastrocnemius. I have it highlighted on there. It's got two sections here that originate on the lateral and medial condyles of the femur. And this muscle comes down and it blends into a tendon on the back of your ankle that you can pluck like a big bass string. What's that tendon
Yeah,
called?
Don't do that.
Boom, 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 boom. What's it called?
That one.
It's called the Achilles tendon. It's called also the calcaneal tendon in the strict anatomic term because it inserts onto the bone known as what?
Your
Heel
heel.
bone. But it's not called the heel bone, it's called the calcaneus.
Yeah.
Heel bone is calcaneus, and this is the calcaneal tendon. And when this muscle shortens and contracts, it yanks on the calcaneus and it points the toes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you take this away and look underneath it, there's a muscle called soleus. If you really took the whole thing away, you see soleus is actually shaped like a ping pong paddle,
Mm-hmm.
and its fibers radiate outward like the sun, so it's named after the sun. And it does the same thing, it plantar flexes the ankle. That's it.
That's it.
I don't think there's anything else on the lower extremity.
Nope.
So it's a lot. God knows it's a lot. There's no question about that. But this little thing we just made, I don't know anyone's going to give a care about it. But it was
I'm
a
gonna
great
watch
experience
it.
for you guys.
Mhm.
And, maybe people will pick up some things. It's not the highest quality video. I didn't show the model very well, but I don't care. It wasn't for them. It's for us.
Mhm.
And so that's it. So on Thursday, I'm highly recommending that you guys spend some time together doing what we just did.
Yeah.
Where you say something like, what's this one? And this one looks like a bunch of slabs of meat. But if you stop and you orient yourself, and you say, okay, I'm on the posterior thigh. How do I know I'm on the posterior thigh? Well, the sacrum's there, and the toes are up there, and the heel's there. I'm on posterior. There's three things back here I could be asked about. And so you have to figure out a way to look at this and say 1, 2, and 3. And it's actually, it's not too hard when you kind of look at it straight on. You can definitely see 1, 2, and 3. And then you have to think to myself, the most lateral one, you have to memorize it. It goes from lateral to medial.
Mhm.
Biceps femoris, semitendinosus, semimembranosus. It's a mouthful, but if you memorize that, now you're cheating on the test. If you know that information by heart, you walk up to this thing, you pull it up, it's in your brain. You already know the answer, but you're not cheating because it's you.
Mhm.
Okay? So first you orient yourself. I'm on the posterior thigh. Then you find a landmark. It's whatever, in my case, just looking at the back of the thigh, there's 3 things there. Now's where the memorizing thing comes in. You have to remember biceps femoris is lateral. Then it goes tendinosus, then it goes membranosus. If I show you the front of the thigh, you orient yourself. You say, this is the anterior thigh. It's going to be a quadriceps. It's one of 4 things. Is it the center? Is it the feather? If it's the feather, you're home free. It's called rectus femoris. That's home base. If it's not the feather, you know it's one of the other vastus muscles. It's either lateral vastus or medial vastus. Or if I take this thing off, it could be intermedius. If it's in the leg, the lower leg, if it's on the front, it's tibialis anterior. There's only one thing it could be.
Mhm.
If it's on the back, you have to figure out if I'm asking you about something that's the most superficial, or if I've taken this away and I'm showing you the layer underneath. Most superficial, it's gastrocnemius. Deep to it, it's soleus. Same for the medial thigh. If it's the medial thigh, you hope I'm pointing front and center, because that's easy to remember. It's the graceful ballerina. It's gracilis. Front and center, number 15. If it's not that, it's going to be immediately in front of it. That's the adductor. Guess what? Immediately in front of it is called anterior. A.
Mhm.
Anterior to gracilis is adductor longus. There's adductor longus, adductor magnus, adductor brevis. They're not on our test. It's adductor longus. If it's the butt cheek, it's gluteus maximus. If it looks like the back of a leg where someone chopped your butt cheek off, it's gluteus medius.
Mhm.
It's not very scientific, but I'm just telling you. If it's the front inside the hip, it's either along the iliac bone, that's iliacus, or it's the tenderloin, that's psoas. Some of us don't know by heart yet that that's the iliac bone. It's kind of, it might be good to really try to nail down some of the skeleton stuff first, because these things do kind of help build on each other. Tensor fascia lata's got this really obvious landmark. It's got this really wide, white-colored, gray-colored tendon on the lateral thigh. The actual muscle belly of it that I'm going to label is up here, but you can see how this thing blends into that tendon that comes down. It's tensor fascia lata. And finally, Tiffany, where's sartorius? It's the belt, it's the ribbon that crosses the thigh.
Oh, yes.
It's that.
It's only leave.
Okay.
How did everybody leave so early?
So that's the thigh. I don't know. I think they might suspect that they could study this just as well on their own and maybe get a little peace and quiet and bite to eat. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Or maybe they have other reasons. Maybe their dog, maybe they saw in their doggy Furbo cam that the dog pooped on